Good evening, guys. Welcome to the next part of my story. For me, this part is going to be quite hard, so you'll have to bear with me. It's not just a hard thing to talk about, it's also it'll be hard to listen to. The manipulation from this man was just out of this world. So yeah, this brings a whole new meaning to the word torment, secrets and lies. So I'm going to get through it, this part, like the best I can, whilst making something. So after my mum and my sister's father split up, she started writing to a man from, I want to say Birmingham, but I'm not 100% sure it was Birmingham. So for a little while, my mum seemed to be happy. She was in her element. She had a spring in her step. And you know what? Who doesn't want to see their mum like that? Okay, everyone wants to see their mum happy. And if this man was going to make her happy, that's a bonus, right? He liked her kids. She didn't introduce her straight away, I don't think. They met a few times. He didn't move in straight away. I was coming up to 5 at this point. My sister was around 10 months old now. So we're coming up to 88, 89 maybe. Well, it's not quite 1989 because that's where it all went wrong. Finally, the man that she'd been writing to had moved in with us, and we became this family unit. And for a while, everything was fine. Moved in, he was happy, he was kind, he was charismatic. He was also multilingual. He could speak 7 languages, and boy didn't we know it. So when you're going to quick save doing your shopping and he's talking French, and we had to answer him in French. Some of the looks we got in supermarket. I mean, we're in quick save for heaven's sake, so it's not like posh or anything. Anyway, I digress. He was a university lecturer who lectured the lecturers on computers. So yeah, we had the internet. It was very much in its infancy though. As my sister was only a baby, she only ever knew him as her father. Make no mistake, he definitely was not her father. But from a very, very young age, we were taught to lie. So we were forbidden to tell her the truth. As you'll find out later in the videos, as they go on, you'll find out that my sister was by no means daft. Okay, so she is actually a really clever girl. And still is a really clever woman. So I suppose that was red flag number 1, right? Because we were taught to lie to suit somebody else's narrative. For a while, everything seemed normal and fine. And on the outside, to everyone else, we were the perfect family. Mum, dad, 2.4 children, you know, most people wanted it. We lived on a big estate. When we were younger, we lived on the top of a big hill. Great to learn to ride your bike, by the way. My brothers were taken to the top of that hill and shoved down the hill and told that pedal or fall off, basically. So they pedalled. My brothers helped me. They didn't quite shove me down the top of the hill, but that was one of the only times I played outside on the front. We'll get to why. Yeah, so everything was fine. Also, however, on the inside of the house, things were turning dark. There was almost coldness in the air because inside our house, things were getting dark. This guy had been there a while. He'd gained everyone's trust, made out that he was the perfect human being, and decided he was going to show his true colours, shall we say. Oh, weren't they just amazing? So he started to bully my oldest brother. He was about 11 at the time. He was told to go and have a shower, which my brother was fine with. But what he wasn't okay with was the stepfather following him to the bathroom whilst he had a shower. Which, why would he be? He was 11. Who's going to be happy with it? He followed him to the bathroom to shower him. In what world would that even be okay? Even in the 80s, that was wrong, right? Now, I'm not sure what happened that night in the bathroom because my brother has avidly kept that information very close to his chest, which is fine. I would never push him. If he doesn't want to talk about it, he doesn't want to talk about it. So I would never, ever make him say anything he didn't want to. Anyway, But what I do know is shortly after SF, so I'm going to call him SF because I'm not going to keep saying stepfather all the way through the video. Shortly after SF followed my brother into the bathroom, SF hit my brother in the chest with the shower head, which made a large gash right in the middle of my brother's chest. She still has that scar today. And then from then on, the beatings just got worse. And I know you're probably wondering at this point, where was my mum? Well, she was at work. She worked nights in a pie factory because apparently that was the best thing to do. But it wasn't. That was just to get her out of the way. And sometimes he would get beaten for the stupidest reasons in the world. He'd plant money on my brothers. Well, not both of them at the same time. He would plant it on one of them. And then he would get us all up at 2 o'clock in the morning and we'd all get a massive lecture about stealing and how wrong it was, and he'd take our favourite things away. Like, he took my heffalump away, he would take my sister's Premi Bear away, he took my brother's favourite things away from them, you know, and then just to add insult to injury, he would get either the slipper or a large stick out, and we'd get whacked with that as well. It was like, you know, those green garden canes that if you wave them really fast in the air, you can hear the wind. It was one of them, or it was a bamboo cane, really hard, just garden canes, okay, or a slipper. And then he would check everyone's pockets, and then he would obviously find the money in whatever brother he'd planted it on. And they would get an extra beating for that, for something that they didn't even do, you know. My brothers weren't thieves, and they didn't deserve to be treated like that. My older brother is just he kind of took the brunt of everything, which was awful. One night, I remember, when my mum was at work, he came upstairs and he dragged my middle brother out of bed. Bunk beds. I mean, our bunk beds had metal frames that way. Proper metal frames. They were made properly back then. So he dragged him out of bed and he kicked him all over the bedroom. And then he kicked him all over the landing. He kicked him all over the bathroom. He then proceeded to kick him down the stairs, which resulted in a broken collarbone. But he told my mum that he'd fell out of his bed and hit his collarbone. Okay. How? Because the metal bar of the bed was underneath the bed. So there is no way it was that had happened. Anyway, she believed him. We went to hospital, got it fixed up. That was that. I mean, my middle brother was 10, maybe 11. I can't quite remember. A lot happened back then, and my mum believed the lie anyway that she was told. She either believed it or she chose to ignore it, which is not a great thing to say, but as an adult, this is what I think now. Because I don't believe you could truly think, you know, it was an accident. I just don't believe that. So I don't know. I think she kept her eyes closed most of the time, and she just wanted a perfect family life. On another occasion, my oldest brother went to school with 2 black eyes, and when the school asked how that happened, he told them that our brother opened the bin lid on his face. Well, right, so I'd just like to point out, we didn't have these plastic bins when we were younger, okay? So we didn't have the lift-up bins, we had metal ones with, like, proper bin lids. So unless my middle brother had, like, full-on picked it up and whacked him in the face with it, I don't even know how they even believe that. But anyway, so I just question how they believed anything. That's not what happened, though. Our SF had beaten him up again. I don't know what for this time. In fact, I really don't know the reason for any of the beatings. There was a lot of them. I think our SF found it amusing. We got off on it, I think. There was an occasion where my mum was actually present for one of these beatings, and she just sat in an old rocking chair and she says to him, "Not the face." Yeah, not the face. I don't know if she was afraid herself or thought everything was okay or just saw it as discipline, but from my memory, my brother didn't deserve any of these beatings at all. And he got beaten like that because he wanted to assert his control over him. And my oldest brother wasn't going to play his other twisted little game, which I'll get to in a bit. When my oldest brother wasn't about to be manipulated. So instead he slung him around the kitchen into some crates and cut his eye open and told my mum they were play fighting. Funny. Not. She believed that as well. Although I don't think she did, really. Believe it, I think she knew. And then one time he threw scalding hot water all over him from the stove and told my mum they'd knocked it off because he was mucking around in there. And as my brother got older, he thought he was able to escape it, and he went to college and he lived in there. But he still couldn't escape the beatings, because on his birthday, at 5 a.m. one morning, SF decided to drive all the way out there just to give him a good hiding. Why? So, as a result, my brother doesn't just hold the physical scars, he holds the mental scars as well. And he remembers it all. It's like the people who were supposed to protect him didn't. And I understand that because I feel the same. However, this is something my mum actually knows. So if she ever watches this, which I doubt it, she knows it anyway, so because I've been quite open with my feelings to her. My brother did actually tell once, when he was still in school, about the beatings. Social services came out, they drank tea, they ate biscuits, they questioned us all while the SF was there in the room. We were afraid of him, so we denied it. And that, for my entire life, will be one of my biggest regrets, denying it, because it could have all stopped then, but it didn't. Why didn't social services question why there was a young girl sat there in a red corduroy skirt, a white roll neck with little Scotty dogs all over it, and thick woolly white tights in the middle of the summer? Why was she dressed up like the middle of winter? So there's not like there wasn't a telltale sign there, because there genuinely was. But anyway, they left and they just said everything was fine, and that was it. Well, I'll tell you why RSF also had another appetite, apart from beating my brothers up and getting us up at 2 a.m. for monthly lectures and just hitting us with sticks for no reason, because he was quite fond of little children as well, or locking us in a boiling hot car for ages while he went into Aldi to do the shopping. That wasn't always fun. 4 kids in a car, boiling hot heat. Anyway, it was a mild night in mid-March 1989. I don't remember the exact date when he first came into my room. While me and my sister were sleeping, I was jolted awake by his warm, heavy breath in my face. He told me to shush and not to make a noise, or I'd wake my sister up. I remember the words he whispered clearly in my ear that night. He said, "It's okay, don't be scared. I just came in to give you a kiss good night." He leaned down and kissed me, but it's not how a dad would kiss the child, but a proper kiss. I could smell his breath on me. I could taste him as he forced his tongue into my mouth. I didn't know what was going on, and he said not to be afraid, but I was afraid. I knew this wasn't right. It felt like it went on for ages. I was 7 that year, and he lifted his head up and put his hand over my mouth and nose. I couldn't breathe. I struggled, and then he said to me, "This is our little secret. You mustn't tell anyone." But all daddies do this. So if all daddies do this, why did I have to keep it a secret? But yeah, all daddies do this. And they do it because they love them. Again, I was taught to lie. From a very early age, I was taught to keep a secret. Mustn't tell anyone. This man spent a year and a half breaking down everyone's barriers and gaining their trust, or scaring us into believing everything he said was true. I believed this is what all dads did when they love you. But deep down, I think I knew. All along, it wasn't right, because I didn't tell anyone, not even my school friends. And I told my school friends everything. So, yeah, that was the start of it. He didn't come into a room again for a few days, so I tried to put it behind me, and then he came in again, and this time he woke me up by holding his hand over my mouth and nose to scare me. No one's making a noise then. And then he kissed me again, and this time he ran his hands all over me. I was so confused. Again, he swore to me. He swore me to secrecy, and this time telling me my mum would be angry at me because it's my fault for being such a pretty little girl. Sorry guys, I had to take a short break. And at first, he kept this visit creeping into my room in the nights when everyone was asleep in the dark. I'm now afraid of the dark, but not because I think there's ghosts or ghoulies in the dark, because I think somebody's going to come in and do something. This is something I can't get out of my head, and I live with this every single day, all the time. I hate being alone at night, so when my partner and my son go away, I will sleep with the TV on to say there's light in the room. But if it goes off, I know it goes off, and I'll turn it back on again. It's like I'm awake instantly. And I don't like doors open at night time, as my subconscious tells me there's always something there waiting for me to hurt me. He did eventually get braver and more blatant with it. He would lay on the sofa naked like a fat slob. Well, he was a fat slob, covered in a sleeping bag. He would make me come and lay on the sofa with him, where he would touch me. At first over my clothes, and he would kiss my neck and breathe heavy in my ears and breathe on my neck. It was horrible. He then started to put his hands under my clothes while doing other stuff. And the whole time he would continue to tell me that this is our little secret, and that he's doing this because he loves me, and this is all normal. I was so confused, and I felt utterly alone. I felt alone in a house full of people, and I was terrified daily because I didn't know if he was going to do something or if he wasn't going to do something. And as far as my family know, because I haven't told them any of my feelings towards what was happening or what was going on or anything like that, I've just kept it to myself all these years, eating away at me inside and pickling my brain with it. This is why I've chosen to tell people my story. I'm not doing this for people to feel sorry for me. That's not what I want. This is to show people that after a lifetime of torment, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Anyway, let's continue. Being young and not understanding exactly what was happening, I just knew I didn't like it. The abuse continued to escalate. It got worse by the week. He got bolder, and he started to do it with when others were around. Even when my mum was actually in the room at home sometimes, she would sit in an old rocking chair right next to the brown embroidered sofa. Sometimes my brothers were in the room as well. Sometimes I think they might have noticed something, but again, there's that element of denial with things, isn't there? So whether they wanted to believe what they were seeing, but didn't quite believe what they were seeing. He was also doing this to my middle brother, but I didn't know this at the time. Sorry, now my hands are shaking. On one occasion, he was asked to make sure I had a bath for school. I want to say that this experience was the worst experience that I had from this time in my life, but it really wasn't, because it gets so much worse. And he left the bathroom door open, and at the time he thought everyone was downstairs, so he took his opportunity to take it further. He sat me on the washing basket, pushed my legs apart and put his mouth where it should never been. I started crying, but he didn't care. He liked that I was upset. It was like he was in control. My head was a mess. I was eight now, and I already knew too much. I was terrified all the time. I never knew when he was coming next or what he was going to do. Was this really my life now? That night in the bathroom, though, someone had indeed seen him. However, he never said anything, so it continued for longer. And I realised quite soon that no one was going to come and save me. So this became a regular thing. He soon started to make me do things to him, awful things. And if I wanted anything, there would always have to be a condition to it. I would have to do something for him first, like some sort of sexual favour. I would have to do things for him in return for anything that I wanted. So it was almost like he was teaching me, which sounds disgusting. In effect, that's what he was doing. I remember him getting me up one night. This is quite vague. We went downstairs and there was somebody else in the front room, another man with his daughter. They then both proceeded to do things to myself and this other guy's daughter. And this is one detail that no one else knows. So I didn't just have him doing things to me, I had somebody else's father doing the same thing while he was doing that to somebody else's daughter. And still, I had nobody to talk to. Who was I going to tell? Because after all, if I told anyone, it would kill my mum. She'd be so angry. And that's what I believed. And there was times where I actually did go to my mum's room to tell her, so many times. But you know what? I ended up asking her about her shoes, which was silly because I was scared. There was times when I didn't want her to go to work. She's getting a bit more difficult now for me to talk about because it gets worse. However, sometimes he never came anywhere near us. Any of us. He'd sit in the front room and he'd play this acoustic guitar and he'd sing. And just for reference, I can't stand listening to that now. Somebody singing with an acoustic guitar. It really drives me nuts. Just totally lost my train of thought here. I once tried to run away. I had this little suitcase, packed some pants in it, and my mum had given me this statue of like an orange seller called Nell Gwyn. I packed her and my favourite teddy bear, which is a blue elephant with stripy ears called Heffalump. And I put them by the back gate and I was trying to sneak out the front door while my mum and SF caught me when he was going to be taking her to work. And they asked what I was doing and I said I was running away. And they said why, and I said because I don't want to live here anymore. And then obviously they wanted to know why I didn't want to live there anymore, but I couldn't tell the truth because, well, he'd told me it would hurt my mum too much to hear it. I couldn't tell my mum the truth. I said my brothers were picking on me. Right, you do, so I just blamed it on my brothers. Anyway, I didn't run away. I went with him to take my mum to work. Then he took me to John Bowman's shop down the road and he said to me, you can have anything you want, and gave me a £5 note. Now, back then, fiver would get you a lot of things. And he said I could have anything, and the others weren't going to get anything because they were the ones that had caused me to want to run away. So I thought, this is brilliant. And I was happy that I was getting spoilt, right? What a joke. So I didn't think anything of it. I did what he said and I got everything that I wanted, along with sweets and chocolate, etc. You know, everything a kid wants that we wasn't normally allowed to eat, because make no mistake, we weren't. All the things that we weren't normally allowed to eat, and you name it, I got it. But that wasn't for free, really, because after everybody had gone to sleep, he came in my room. And he said that I had to pay for all the stuff that he'd bought me. And then he proceeded to do some unspeakable things to me while my sister was laying in the bed next to me, asleep. And he touched me and he made me touch him. And I could feel his heavy body on mine. And this became like a regular thing. He would give me money, or he would put money under my pillow and he'd say, save that for holiday. This is for you to save for holiday. And then he'd come in and he'd take it away again. And he said, I'll look after this for you and you can spend it on holiday. So you'll have more spending money than everyone else on holiday. He was basically treating me like a prostitute. So he treated me like a little prostitute. I couldn't have anything unless I did something for him in return. I wasn't allowed to play outside with the children on the front. I would sit in my room as I got older, reading Enid Blyton stories and getting lost in her stories as the sunlight shone on the papers. And I would escape into her world and imagine that I was anywhere but there. I joined the church choir. Because, you know, God's going to save me, right? No, he isn't. I joined the brownies as well, just not like peace of mind. But I remember sitting in my bedroom on a brown ottoman, watching the kids outside playing and wishing that I was out there too. But I knew that I wasn't allowed out there because I would open my mouth and say something. But it was going to be a few more years before it was ended. And I read a lot and I imagined the world away. And I genuinely thought this was going to be my life forever. Christmas, we used to get everything we asked for Christmas. Always something. So guys, I'm going to end this video here. And in my next one, I will tell you about how he pretty much ruined Christmas for everybody. Well, what he did for me when he confiscated my stuff. And I'll tell you what I had to do to get it back. So please do like, follow, share, subscribe. You like this, and I'm really sorry if this has upset anyone. But like I said, this is not being done for sympathy or anything like that. I'm hoping that these videos might help people to find the bravery that they didn't know that they had. So I'll see you. Love you all. Join me in the next one. Bye.